We booked the place because of the photos. Big wraparound porch, pine trees all around, not a neighbor in sight. It was a 2-story cabin up in Northern California, listed as a rustic summer escape. My parents wanted a quiet week away with no phones, no TV, and no stress. I was 17 at the time, and not exactly thrilled about being stuck in the woods for a week with no Wi-Fi, but I didn't have much say. We got there around 5 in the evening on a Sunday. The sun was still high, casting this golden glow through the trees. The place looked even nicer in person. Wooden beams, big windows, even a little loft above the living room. It felt peaceful at first. Quiet, calm, kind of magical. The owner had left us a note on the table. It was just a friendly welcome. He had some info about the thermostat and where to take the trash. But at the bottom she wrote, "Please don't open the basement door. Nothing down there but old junk and bad wiring. Have a great stay." That line stuck out to me. Bad wiring and junk. Sure, but why even mention it? And the way it was worded, something about it felt off. The first night was uneventful, just the usual sounds of settling wood and insects outside. I slept okay. But my little sister, Lily, said she kept waking up because someone was walking around upstairs. Thing is, none of us were upstairs. My parents brushed it off. Old house noises, they said. You're imagining things. Second night, things got weirder. I was brushing my teeth when I saw someone behind me in the mirror. Just for a split second, a tall figure at the edge of the hallway. I turned fast, but nothing was there. My heart was pounding, but I tried to convince myself it was a trick of the light. Later that night, Lily screamed. We ran to her room and found her sitting up in bed, shaking. She said a man had been crouched in the corner, just staring at her. She swore he crawled across the floor when she screamed, then vanished. My mom slept in her room after that, but she didn't see anything. By morning, she looked more tired than usual, but didn't say why. The third day was when we all heard it. It was around 2 in the morning. Something heavy started banging under the floor, not creaking, banging, like fists on wood, right beneath the living room. Dad grabbed a flashlight and went to check. The basement door was in the hallway behind the kitchen. When he opened it, the whole cabin seemed to go silent. Even the crickets stopped. I didn't go down with him. I stayed with Lily and my mom. But he was gone for a while. Too long. When he came back up, his face was pale. He said the basement was empty. Just tools, cobwebs, and dust. Nothing strange. But that night, he didn't sleep. None of us did. On the 4th day, we found something new. Lily was playing hide and seek and opened the narrow hall closet next to the stairs. She found a trap door inside. A second entrance to the basement we hadn't seen before. It had a metal ring handle and a rusty padlock. The weird thing was the padlock was on the inside. That's when my dad said we were leaving early. We packed up, tossed our bags in the car, and drove away without looking back. I swear I saw someone in the upstairs window as we pulled out of the driveway, just standing there, watching. The owner refunded us without any questions, like she'd done it before. I looked up the property later and found a Reddit thread from 2 years ago. Someone had stayed there with friends and said the same thing. Footsteps, shadows, voices. One person even claimed their friend had sleepwalked and was found standing at the basement door trying to open it in the middle of the night. I don't know what's down there, and I'm never going back to find out. We had been planning the trip for months, just me and Elena, a week in Hawaii. No work, no responsibilities, just sun, waves, and long walks on the beach. We booked a small bungalow on the Big Island, right near a quiet, black sand beach that barely showed up on tourist maps. It was a little off the beaten path, nestled between lava rocks and overgrown palms. It was exactly what we needed. Secluded, peaceful, romantic. The place itself was basic, with a tin roof and sliding glass doors that opened straight to the beach. There were tiki torches lining a short path down to the water, and every night we sat outside, watching the sunset turn the sky into a slow-burning fire. For the first couple of days, it was perfect. Then we found the offering. It was a small wooden bowl, half buried in the sand, sitting right in front of our bungalow. Inside were flower petals, sea salt, some kind of dried meat, and what looked like old bones. There was a small black stone on top, smooth and warm to the touch. It gave me this strange feeling when I held it, like something was staring back through it. Elena said not to touch it, and we gently placed everything back where it was. We figured it was some kind of local tradition, a blessing, maybe even a spiritual practice. We didn't want to disrespect anything. That night we heard drumming. It started just after midnight, soft, rhythmic beats coming from the beach. When we looked outside, the torches were lit, though we hadn't touched them since we arrived. They flickered in perfect sync with the drums, like some silent ceremony was happening just beyond the trees. But there was no one there. We stood at the window for nearly 10 minutes, watching those flames dance in the wind and listening to the faint sound of drums coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Then it all stopped, like someone had flipped a switch. We went to bed, hearts racing, convincing ourselves it was just locals on the beach, even if we hadn't seen a soul since we checked in. The next morning, there were footprints in the sand outside the bungalow, barefoot, deep, dozens of them, like a crowd had gathered right in front of our door. But they led nowhere. No trail from the water, no path into the trees, just an open circle of prints and that same offering bowl sitting in the center, only this time the stone was missing. That night was worse. We were woken up by the sound of whispering. Dozens of voices all around the bungalow. It was like they were speaking through the walls, their words just out of reach, too fast to understand but heavy with meaning. Elena clutched my arm and didn't say a word. Then we heard knocking, not at the door. From underneath the floorboards, something was beneath the house, crawling, scratching, knocking. I grabbed a flashlight and threw open the sliding door, yelling into the darkness, hoping to scare off whatever it was. But outside there was nothing. No wind, no waves, no sounds at all. Everything had gone completely still. Then I looked down. Carved into the sand in long swirling patterns were symbols, circles and lines etched deep like they'd been drawn with fingers or nails. At the center of the pattern was the black stone. It was glowing faintly. I didn't touch it this time. I just stared at it, heart pounding, until Elena pulled me back inside. We locked every door, closed every window, and left the lights on all night. By morning, everything was gone. The stone, the symbols, even the footprints. We left that day. Didn't wait for checkout. Didn't talk to the owners. Just packed and drove straight to the other side of the island where the beaches were crowded and the lights never went out. Weeks later, Elena had a small package delivered to our apartment. Inside was the black stone. No note, no return address, just the stone sitting in a bowl of sand, warm to the touch. And ever since, we've been hearing drums, even in the city, even at night. It started out as one of those carefree summer road trips. Me, my brother Ryan, and our two best friends, Derek and Lacey. We had just graduated college and wanted to do something we'd remember for the rest of our lives. So we planned a cross-country road trip from Seattle to Miami. Over 3 weeks, we'd see the country, camp under the stars, eat from food trucks, and just exist outside of obligations for a little while. We rented an SUV and packed light, just the essentials, sleeping bags, some canned food, a small cooler, and a playlist we'd spent days arguing over. There was a strange kind of freedom to being on the road like that, with nothing behind us and everything ahead. The first few days were incredible. We took back roads, avoided the interstates as much as we could. We drove through tiny mountain towns and long stretches of farmland, stopping at diners and sleeping at cheap motels. Lacey brought a disposable camera, and by the time we got to Utah, she'd already filled 2 rolls with blurry photos of gas stations, sunrises, and all of us laughing. It was somewhere in Arizona on the 7th night that things started to change. We were supposed to stay in Flagstaff that night, but we fell behind schedule and didn't feel like spending the money on a hotel. Ryan spotted a camping symbol on the map about an hour off the highway, deep in a desert preserve. It was isolated, surrounded by red rocks and silence. We thought it sounded perfect. We reached it just before dusk. The site was empty, not a single car or tent in sight. It looked more like a forgotten rest area than a campground, with a single outhouse and a faded wooden sign nailed to a tree that just read, "Echo Bend." There was something unsettling about how quiet it was. No insects, no birds, no wind, just a stillness that felt unnatural, like we had crossed into somewhere we weren't supposed to be. But we were tired, so we set up camp anyway, made a small fire and cracked open a few beers. For a while it was normal, just 4 friends trading stories and roasting marshmallows under the stars. Then Derek noticed something. Far off in the distance, up along the ridge that overlooked our camp, there was a light, just one, faint and flickering, not a flashlight, not a headlamp, something else. We thought maybe another camper had shown up, but when we scanned the ridge with our own lights, there was nothing there. No person, no vehicle, no movement. Still, the light returned every 10 or 15 minutes. Same spot, same flickering. Ryan joked that it was aliens, and Lacey laughed it off. But none of us really liked the way that light seemed to come and go without reason. By midnight, we were ready to sleep. We doused the fire and settled into our tents, me and Ryan in one, Derek and Lacey in the other. Somewhere around 3 a.m. I woke up. There was a sound, something distant, almost like music. It was high-pitched, whistling, faint, but steady. It didn't sound like wind, and it didn't change pitch or direction, just the same eerie tone drifting through the darkness. I unzipped the tent and stepped outside. Ryan stirred but didn't wake up. Outside, the desert was colder than I expected. The moon was bright overhead, casting pale light on the dry earth. I looked around the campsite. Everything was still. Then I saw the light again. Closer this time. It was at the base of the ridge now, just beyond the edge of our camp. I called out, "Hello?" My voice sounded thin, like the desert swallowed it. No answer, just the faint whistling. It was getting louder. I stepped toward the edge of camp, only to realize something strange. There were footprints, dozens of them, all around the tents, barefoot, deep. They hadn't been there before. I backed away slowly and ducked into the tent, waking Ryan. He groggily asked what was going on, but before I could explain, we both heard it. Something dragging across the outside of the tent. Slow, deliberate. It circled us once. Then again, neither of us moved. We held our breath and waited. After a few minutes, it stopped. We waited until morning before stepping outside again. In the daylight, there was no sign of anything. No footprints, no drag marks, no light on the ridge. But the outhouse door was wide open, swinging slowly in the wind, and carved into the wooden frame was a single word: stay. We packed up in under 10 minutes and hit the road without breakfast. None of us said much that day. Something about that place stuck to us. It clung to our skin. We tried to laugh it off, but that night when we stopped at a motel in New Mexico, we found something even stranger. On the windshield of our SUV was a smear of red clay, shaped like a handprint, fingers too long, almost inhuman, and inside the car, sitting on the dashboard, was a small, smooth stone. It looked exactly like the ones we'd seen near the campsite. We never spoke about Echo Bend again. The rest of the trip passed in a kind of fog. None of us slept well. Lacey started getting nosebleeds. Ryan said he kept seeing something in the rearview mirror, something crawling behind us on all fours whenever we passed desert hills. Even now, months later, I can still hear that whistle when I'm alone at night. And sometimes, when I look out into the dark, I see a faint flicker on the edge of the trees. Just one light, waiting.